So I'm the CEO of an early stage startup. We've actually launched our product yesterday, so the data is just starting to flow. So my task is to set up our entire Amplitude environment with data that we're bringing in from Segment. Are there any best practices to keep in mind? And I have 3 environments, dev, stage, and prod. What is the best way to set that up in Amplitude?
I think in terms of best practices, I think Segment has multiple integrations that it offers to send data into Amplitude. Use the latest version of their integration, Amplitude Actions Destination, that automatically helps you track sessions also within Amplitude to kind of make your setup much easier. In terms of other best practices, since you're using Segment, I would say you should have your tracking plans kind of set up in your CDP, or rather the source of all of your data. Segment particularly offers multiple schema settings, right? So if you set certain schema rules within Segment, it will enforce those rules to your destinations as well. Typically for customers using the Amplitude SDKs, we recommend that they should create a tracking plan within Amplitude, make sure you're not sending data outside of those tracking plans and those events. Similar to that, using schema settings within Segment will kind of enforce the tracking plan within Segment and make sure your data stays clean in any of the tools connected from Segment. I think the way schema settings work is you need to set your event naming conventions, property naming conventions, and if any of the events don't match those conventions, they would still show up in Segment, but Segment would start omitting that data from being forwarded downstream. I think other common issues that I see from Segment, it often becomes a question of comparison. You're sending data from Segment into a warehouse, you're sending data from Segment into Amplitude, and you're not seeing parity between the tools. That's typically coming from the fact that the definitions across every tool are different. If you're looking at unique users or new users, the way different tools define those will be quite different. If you're writing a query in a warehouse, that could also be different. I would always say define your own definitions for each of these metrics and use those rather than relying on the defaults that every given product has. And if you're sending data to an analytics tool, make that as your source of truth for all of your analytics. And if you're getting a number from your analytics tool, trust that rather than trying to cross-check multiple sources. Majority of the customers do spend a lot of time trying to troubleshoot, why am I seeing that 1% difference? I want this to be exactly the same. All the tools work differently, right? So we don't want to spend too much time in trying to figure out why was that 1% difference in one tool to the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Thank you.